Hey, what's up everybody? Hammer Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing another edition in my series where I'm counting down some of my favorite albums from a specific subgenre of metal. Today we are going to be talking some folk metal and my favorite 10 folk metal albums. So as with all the other editions in this series, I am limiting this to only one album per band, so you're not going to see the same band repeated throughout this list. And also, just to go a little bit further on this one with folk metal, it's really tough to kind of narrow down, well, what would be considered folk metal? There might be so many different branches this could go into. There's a lot of black metal and, let's say, atmospheric black metal that might incorporate elements of folk metal in there. I'm not going to be including bands like that on here. For example, a band like Seor, to me, is still more rooted in like atmospheric black metal than in folk metal, although they use a lot of folk metal. So that's a band that you'll see on like my black metal list as opposed to my folk metal list. Similarly, a band like Windeer, to me, they're more of a melodic black metal band that it uses a ton of folk instrumentation, but I wouldn't necessarily consider their albums pure like folk metal albums. So there's definitely going to be a lot of just opinions of whether I'm classifying it more as a black metal album or as a folk metal album. So if you don't hear me naming some things, it could just be because they're coming up in a different edition of this series, or maybe it's just not a band that I've included on this list. But yeah, limiting it to 10, there's going to be a ton of bands that I'm not mentioning, so it doesn't mean I don't like it, but definitely give me your thoughts down below. Let me know what your favorite folk metal albums are, and let's just get right into this. I got 10 albums for you here, and let's kick it off. Coming in 10th place, I'm going with Equilibrium and their debut album, Turis Fratyr, from 2009. So these guys are from Germany. They play epic folk metal, very much in the same vein as a band maybe like Ensiferum. Just very like over-the-top folk instrumentation, like lots of symphonics going on as well. But just really great riffs, really catchy songs. Even though it's not in English, they're still catchy. You got a song like medh on here, which is just super fun. I will say, like, their career as a whole, I'm not necessarily super into all of their albums, but this debut really still holds up. It stands the test of time. To me, it's still a very solid folk metal album, and that's why I'm putting it on this list. Just cracking my list of top 10 folk metal albums, coming in at number 10. Up next at number 9, I'm going with Finntroll with their album Jaktens Tid from 2001. So, of course, Finntroll is from Finland. Very much just having some fun with this. Troll metal, acting like trolls, singing songs about trolls, drinking. It's just fun. There's a little like hints of black metal in there with the folk metal, but they're almost bringing, like at some points, they'll bring in like polka music with black metal, with folk metal. So definitely very much just rooted in folk metal, just having a ton of fun. But this album is just solid all the way through. It's another band that maybe I don't listen to their whole discography all the time, but if I'm in the mood for just some fun folk metal, this album really checks all those boxes. Really solid stuff, easy addition to my list. Up next at number 8, I'm going with Tyr and their album By the Light of the Northern Star from 2009. So these guys are from the Faroe Islands. This is a little bit of a different type of folk metal. Definitely on the epic side, maybe like some Viking metal in there. Just really known for great guitar work. Like there's great solos, a lot of twin guitar parts. Mostly clean singing, but it's really great like Viking chanting and just really catchy choruses, especially on this album, like Hold the Heathen Hammer High. You're going to listen to it once and those riffs and vocals are just going to stick in your head. By the Sword in My Hand, another absolutely awesome song. All in all, Tyr kicks ass. This album is absolutely no exception to that. That is why it is on this list. Up next at number 7, I'm going with Isengard and the one album Høstmørke from 1995. So this, of course, is Fenris's from Darkthrone, his side project that maybe started out more in like a death and black metal vein, but then kind of went completely folky, still with hints of black metal in there for sure, but definitely a lot folkier than anything that Darkthrone. Like this is not, it doesn't sound like Darkthrone. But Fenris does a great job with the clean vocals. They're very interesting and it really gives it this nice folky flavor. There's still some harsh screams in there as well and the hints of black metal. But to me, this is much more of a folk album than a black metal album. Obviously, the genres kind of overlap in a lot of senses. But this is absolutely solid, enjoyable album. I love pretty much everything Fenris does. He's just a really cool guy. And yeah, this album is no exception. So definitely go check it out if you have not heard it. Up next at number 6, I'm going with some Canadian content and the band Fratyr with their album Beyond the North Waves from 2008. This is actually another one-man band, like I said, from Canada, very much more on the Viking folk metal side. There's hints of black metal here as well, but kind of really mixes the epic Viking era of Bathory in their sound with a lot of folk and acoustics, as well as some neoclassical guitar parts. This guy can shred on the guitar, but it doesn't overblow the shredding. It just works it in so beautifully. It's got these long epic songs, and if you're into any sort of epic Viking stuff, please check out Fratyr if you have not. They've got I think 4 albums. They're all pretty solid. This is probably my favorite one, but if you put a different album on here, it totally makes sense as well. Just really epic stuff. Best songs, the title track, Under the Mountain, is great as well. Pretty much start to finish, this is an album that's best listened to as a whole to really grasp everything going on, the complete epicness of this. Absolutely solid, in at number 6. Now let's get into top 5, my 5 favorite folk albums. So just cracking the top 5, I am going with Falkenbach and their debut on their medh riki fara. Probably mispronouncing that, so I apologize. This is from 1996. Another one-man band, this time from Germany. Kind of perfectly blending Viking metal, black metal, and folk metal. It's a lot of folk instrumentation, a lot of clean singing, still a lot of harsher rasps, black metal vocals as well. But just really epic and awesome. This was the one where it was really tough to pick which album I would put on this list. I knew I was going to put Falkenbach on here, but which album? I went with the debut, but you could pretty much put any album because they're that good. Such epic stuff and just really awesome. If you haven't heard Falkenbach, definitely go give them a listen. Up next at number 4, sticking with Germany, this time with Finsterforst and their album Zum Tod hin from 2009. So this is absolutely epic folk metal. This album is only 5 tracks and it's 70 minutes long, so that gives you a good idea of song length. The last song is 20 minutes long. This is a band that brings in a lot of accordions to their sound, but still full of great riffs. There's hints of black metal in there as well with some of the raspier singing, but it's just really awesome, epic stuff. I absolutely love this album to death. Yeah, it's a journey to get through 70 minutes. Might not be for everyone, but if you're into epic folk metal, the longer side of things, definitely give Finsterforst a listen, specifically this album. Up next at number 3, I'm going with Vintersorg with their album Till Fjälls from 1998. So at the time this album came out, this was a one-man band, of course, Vintersorg, who went on to be in Borknagar later. There's been many different eras of this band, but at this time it was pretty much straight-ahead folk metal. Definitely a little bit of hints of black metal in there as well. But he had such a nice, rich baritone voice going on at the time. A lot of acoustics and folk instrumentation. Still some harsher, faster-paced stuff as well, and some rasping vocals. But man, this album is so fucking great. I absolutely love Vintersorg. Even the different eras as well. It goes in a progressive direction later on, and then kind of combines it all together in his later works. I love everything. Hard to put which album, but Till Fjälls always has held a special place in my heart, especially in terms of folk metal. I mean, the title track on here, if you've never heard before, just goes to that Till Fjälls, Till Fjälls, Till Fjälls, Till Fjälls. Just fucking awesome. Absolutely awesome, epic stuff. Could have even had this higher, but in at number 3 is not too bad at all. So let's get into what I have even higher than that. Coming up next, in second place, I'm going with Ensiferum and their album Iron from 2004. So of course, Ensiferum, one of the biggest folk metal bands out there, more on the epic side of things. Definitely bringing in hints of power metal and melodic death metal as well into their folk metal sound. Very unique. There's so many folk instruments going on at the same time, a lot of symphonics as well, but so many sing-alongable choruses. I dare you to not have a good time listening to this album. This is another one where it was really tough to pick which album, because the debut, Iron, Victory songs, From Afar, their career started so strong. Maybe it's tailed off a little bit with some of the recent albums. I actually really liked their most recent one, Thalassic, but I don't want to shit on them too much. They're still solid, putting out solid material, but I mean, these early albums are so insanely good, it's just hard to match the quality of that. But such great catchy songs on here, like the title track, Iron, Into Battle, Lili Hey. Just, come on, absolutely stellar stuff. Had to be high on this list. Easily one of my favorite albums of all time. So now that just leaves one album to rule them all. My favorite folk metal album of all time. I'm going to go with Moonsorrow and their album Verisakeet from 2005. So this is, once again, is some very epic folk metal mixed in with black metal for sure, but I've always kind of put Moonsorrow more in the folk metal camp than the black metal camp, although they kind of perfectly combine those two genres into one. Of course, these guys are from Finland, and they are truly the masters of epic folk. Like, long songs, but they are engaging throughout. Like, this album is 5 songs, 70 minutes long, kind of what they're known for. But yeah, another band that is so hard to choose which album I would put on here because their whole discography is absolutely flawless. I went with Verisakeet, but really any of their 7 albums could be on here and it would still make sense because they are that good of a band and just absolutely epic stuff. If you've not heard any Moonsorrow before, go give this album a listen, see what you think. I strongly recommend it. Can't recommend it enough, actually. I absolutely love these guys. So anyways, these are just my opinions as usual. Love to hear yours down below. What are your favorite folk metal albums? Which ones can you believe I didn't talk about? Or what do you think of these ones that I did talk about? And yeah, upcoming, you're going to get some more additions in this series. I'm going to be doing one on my favorite death metal albums, my favorite black metal albums. Those lists will be longer than 10 for sure. Probably even a top 50. But yeah, something to look forward to. I'm going to have a lot of fun putting those together. So anyways, until next time, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Hammer Heart Metal Reviews, out.